Rather than operating in stress, anxiety, chaos, overwhelm, and disorganization, we're going to show you how to honor your commitments to yourself by choosing to flow with ease in the ultimate state of honesty, peace, love, compassion, and integrity today on Awaken and Ascend. I brought in the most amazing guest today who truly walks her talk. And I'm so excited to introduce you. But first, I should let you know who I am. I am Jennifer Regular, your host, and so excited to welcome you and Jen Carpenter, who is the guest today. She's going to actually give you her focus and flow formula so you can show up empowered and aligned. Be present, stay focused, and flow to create your dream reality. So stay tuned.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, absolutely, Jen Carpenter. I imagine you've been on quite a journey to arrive in this new state of being. So, welcome and thank you so much for joining us today on Awaken and Ascend.
Really, really great to meet another Jennifer as well and be on this journey with you. I really liked when you talked about your podcast, Awaken and Ascend, that it came into my life exactly when it was supposed to. So I'm excited to be on the journey with you.
Oh, this is so good. So, tell us, Jen, what actually lit your path through all of that turmoil? Because I know many of us are also experiencing that and still go through bouts of that. I mean, once we reach a certain state, doesn't mean we stay there. It's like continuous alignment, continuous conscious choice every moment, right?
Yes, we create our reality by the moment to moment choices we make. Part of where I'm at on my journey is somewhere I didn't know I would be. So I went into entrepreneurship, the power of choice that I talk about quite often, the power of decision. Had no idea what going into entrepreneurship would lead to in my life, that it would change the entire trajectory of my life, my relationships, and leaving my corporate career eventually. When I originally went into entrepreneurship, I planned on leaving it fully, and I'm down to just a small amount of corporate healthcare. Physical therapy is where my background is from. I first went into one part of my journey and it evolved to where I'm at with mind flow mastery coaching. The focus and flow formula, I basically just put together all of the pieces of the concepts that continued to come up. With obviously, I teach the tools on how to manage a lot of this, but just all the things that kept coming up. So I put it all together into that formula. But yeah, I did not know that being a coach, being on this part of the journey was going to be part of my journey.
Surprise.
Exactly. Yep. So yeah, one of the biggest things that put me in the first place in the direction I was going is that basically losing my older sister and my dad really after several years, which was interesting, really just like came and spoke to me at some point that, you just really have to show up for you and do what's best for you. And a lot of my drive to continue to stay motivated and keep momentum and make scary choices came from that, the impact of the people that like they wouldn't want to see me suffering or my family suffering or you know, they would want me to do what was best for me. So actually that was one of the biggest shifts that started me more into getting more serious about growing my business and evolving.
Mm. What did you find about your corporate career that just wasn't fulfilling you in that way?
Oh, where do we start?
Hmm.
Um, just running at the speed of light constantly for 18 years until 2 years ago. So
Mm.
I now teach people in general, even with what I still do in physical therapy, to take a moment and pause a few times a day and breathe. And I couldn't do that before. I couldn't show up really fully as to who I was in that space either because I just, there wasn't enough room for it, I guess is the best way to say it. So now, in general, with the life I'm creating, I have more space to breathe and flow and pay attention to more of what I need than I used to quite some time ago. So, yeah, taking a moment to pause and breathe a few times a day alone is a very important thing to learn and a useful tool.
Yeah.
But I mean, to be really honest, there was a time I couldn't do that.
Mm-hmm. I know it's shocking, isn't it? Like how we can move through life at lightning speed, just keep going, not be present, not be in that state of grace, and not even realize who we are in the process. We're just constantly doing all the time. And we're
Yes.
so attuned to that productivity and performance kind of mentality that
Yes.
I'm so grateful that we're starting to slow down a little bit, really be
Yeah.
present and conscious of those choices that we're making to allow for room to breathe, which people often ask, like, I don't even know where to start. Start with that. Start with that, giving yourself some room to breathe, to pause, to
Yeah.
reflect, to contemplate, and really ground yourself. So I'm really curious, Jen, about some of your grounding practice, your alignment practices. How do you find your come into your focus and flow?
So, in general, I take 5 minutes a day to pause and just go through some deep breathing and intention. Or if I'm
Mm,
doing other things, I actually just stop and take a few deep breaths here and there. Just that alone is a huge sort of regulation practice for me, and just a moment to pause and be present. And so, I think a lot of the challenges come, whether that's being an entrepreneur or a parent in life, is that we're unfocused. I think everything comes down to priorities and focus.
mm,
So being totally present also connects you deeper to your true intention, and like you just don't know that you're operating on autopilot. You don't know that you're living in scarcity and in fear or whatever it is, and just to check in with yourself. So part of what we really do even in my full program in the beginning is just check your state of awareness.
mm,
Where am I at? And, am I good with this right now? Does this feel right? And then reflection. Reflection is a big practice of celebrating your daily wins, successes, the gratitude piece, having gratitude, whether that's written down or at least going through it one way or another, having those practices in place. I do most days get up and meditate for 5 minutes. It's even if it's 5 minutes, sometimes I do 10. At the very least, if I can put myself first, actually, priorities. Everything really that I do for myself and what I teach other people is to, even though you have a business and a family and relationships, is
mm,
to learn how to put yourself first. I do want to just say too, nobody's perfect.
mm,
And we have to give ourselves, like you said, love, compassion, and grace because it's a process. I am a million times different than I was 2 years ago when I went into my
mm,
first coaching program that actually led me to where I am today, that decision. And so just to be patient with yourself, have love, compassion, kindness, and grace. Um,
mm,
that you're doing your best. One of my mantras, this is another thing, daily affirmations that you say out loud. I have them printed on a paper in my bedroom, in my bathroom, in my kitchen, in my purse. They're there. And I know, people will say, yeah, just thinking positive doesn't get you there, but these practices actually make results and changes, whether they work for you or not. But I have all these affirmations that I tell myself all the time, and when you then use those in the moment when you're having a tough time and you need to replace those pre-programmed patterns. So doing what's best for me is always one of my mantras is doing what's best for me or my children is doing what's best for me is what's best for me and my children.
mm.
And yeah, that's just one of them, but being able to have those in place as well. So those are just a few of kind of the basic practices that I've implemented and continued with.
Absolutely. And I can see how tuning into that frequency, those words, those intentions, and that making those choices every day brings you more and more into alignment and actually embody the kind of leader you want to be in your business as a parent and in life. And I know your mission truly is to support entrepreneurial parents, right? And so these are huge roles to be an entrepreneurial and a parent and be yourself and put yourself first and having to switch gears from that lightning speed that career and parenthood and corporate life can lead you into wait, I have to stop and breathe. And how do I be patient in that process? How do I overcome the fog, is what I call it, that heavy, dense energy of fear, obligation, and guilt, and really stay in your intention and keeping that promise and commitment you made to yourself to nurture yourself, your well-being, because that's so important too. And like you say, it does have an impact. It's not a selfish thing because it best supports your children, future generations, your clients, everyone that you're here to serve feels your energy. And I know for visionaries, it is that energy and that passion that has the greatest impact, right? And when you break up the word passion, I love this realization I had several years ago where passion is like pass I on, and that I being your soul's expression of what you're here to pass on in this lifetime. And so those affirmations, that grounding, the morning intentional practices all support you in allowing soul to operate through you, which makes it easier, right? There's no method necessarily or blueprint that you need to follow. You came with that blueprint, and it's a matter of just activating that. And so I find, Jen, that the practice that you mentioned are a way of activating that and embedding that transformational code of remembrance into ascension along the path of alignment and activation. And so getting back to your mission of helping entrepreneurial parents, what is it that you feel passionate about in there? What is your mission in that, do you feel?
I think that everybody has different things in their past that are blocking them. I'm not an energy worker, I'm not a healer. I have a 20-year healthcare background in this program that I've learned and gone by.
Mm-hmm.
So people, I believe that it just all comes down to focusing on your priorities of what's best for you. One of the
Yeah.
things is the 5 daily non-negotiables of what's best for you. Are you really getting to those things to feed your mind, body, and soul on a daily basis? And sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. And then usually the things that we do that self-sabotage and contribute to that are the opposites. So the things you tend to do instead. So I say that it's the 5 things on your not to-do list and making sure you're avoiding those things on a daily basis as best as possible so you know where you're actually putting your time and energy. Um, the biggest thing with the mission, I'd say, and this is what I'm getting at, it's I'm out on 2 different events and this podcast in the same week. And I
Mm.
don't normally do a lot of this, but here I am, and everything's happens exactly when it's supposed to. So I think that it's just important to know that things will happen when they're supposed to, even though you're action driven and oriented to be reach towards your goals. But really what changed everything for me was being able to let go of control more so and allow myself to have creative space.
Mm.
So being productive and present. I'm a very productive person. People tend to be very logic minded. We're overthinkers. To be productive and present. I want people to be able to be present with their children. I want them
Mhm.
to be able to show their children what it's like to be regulated and successful. Like that's realistically what's behind it. And I didn't know, and many people don't, that they're living through, like you said, proving, pressure, perfectionism,
Mm.
people pleasing. I've gone through all these things lately, and there's like 10 different things, and they all begin with the letter P. What
Right? Yeah.
it's really weird. I kept adding, I'm like, gosh, there's all these things. So
Yeah.
yeah, you don't know that you're doing it. You don't know
Hmm.
that you're doing it. You don't know sometime what's standing in the way. And you have to be honest, brutally honest with yourself too, whether it's something you want to hear or you don't, and be open-minded to that from other people. Because if other people, that's the power of honesty, keeping it real.
Hmm.
Other people, if they never told me what I needed to hear, even if I didn't like it, I would never be who I am today.
Mm.
So really the biggest thing is that learning how to be, like some people say, the CEO of your life, to be able to be focused and present and productive is a strong, not necessarily balance, but takes alignment. And
Hmm.
I'd like to say again, I kind of keep starting to go to it and coming back. Um, I don't show up fully for myself all the time. And it's way better. And I just have to be realistic that I am showing up for myself. We have to give ourselves credit. We are showing, when you think about doing something and you take action to do it, and maybe it's not where you want it to be, you're still showing up. I'm showing up to the best of my ability on a daily basis. My other mantra I was going to say is every day in every way, I'm getting better and better.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's perfect.
Mm-hmm.
You don't realize that you're doing these things to yourself, actually, is what it is. And so we dive deeper into um, the stories that go on behind all of that. And we help rewrite your story through like I said, the daily reflection practices and looking at I ask the question very often, even if it's in the moment, like what's really going on right now. And just, yeah. So anyways, it truly is my mission to support business owners who it's one thing, like you said, to be an entrepreneur. It's a whole nother thing to be a partner, have deeper connection with yourself, your significant other and your children. Because there's days sometimes I still walk upstairs and I can't be fully present with my kids, and I have to bring myself back to be able to do that. So I'm just very real and raw and honest to be realistic. And I learned too that with the perfectionism, I'm really hard on myself. I
Mm-hmm.
had to uncover a little bit about where that comes from. But either way, I think that's common for a lot of people in general, especially as a mom, any type of parent, even
Mm-hmm.
in a business owner. You need to be really hard on yourself at times to make changes and be realistic and look at what's going on. Otherwise, you cannot continue to grow and expand and evolve and awaken and ascend.
Mm. So well said,
That's why I
Jen, and
love it.
so true. So true. And we are all of those things, and as we step more and more into our power through all of these practices or guiding principles or affirmations and more awareness, more conscious choice, then that alignment creates deep connection with
Yeah.
our divinity, our sovereignty, our children, our clients, whoever we
Yes.
are meant to be connected with. But it's bringing all those pieces together, and it's continuously having to do that because there's always something that's going to come up. And there's a huge cycle of perfectionism and procrastination. And then you realize that sometimes that perfectionism acts as like a repellent. It actually takes away the very things that your fear are going to happen in your
Yes.
life,
Yes.
right? And then that becomes really scary. And so it's that letting go of the control or attachment to outcomes and really standing in your power and in that alignment to create the deep connection that naturally brings all those pieces together. You start noticing those synchronicities. And it's no surprise, Jen, that you have all these things going on this week because you've, over the last couple of years, have expanded your capacity to
Yes.
hold all of that,
Yes.
to be able to sit in that space and still feel present, still feel that state of grace, still be in your integrity because you're
Yes.
being who you are in
Yes.
all of that and deeply connected to others who have given you these opportunities and have matched
Yes.
you up into ways of increasing your capacity even more, right? Giving yourself even more room to breathe and finding that fulfillment. You mentioned all the P's earlier, and I noticed, even in the word flow, since we're talking about that too, when you take out F, what are you left with? Low. So when you're not in
Oh,
flow,
I
you're in
love
that,
that. Thank you.
yeah, when you're not in that flow,
Excellent.
you're in that low energy, that low vibration, that
Yeah.
density of that fear, obligation, and guilt, and trying to meet expectations, even if they're our own high standard expectations of being a former recovering perfectionist myself, can
Yes. Yes.
certainly relate. That what is that F though that's missing that can bring you back into your flow? I have a previous podcast, actually, maybe I'll link it to this one on that about because
Nice.
that might be what brings us back into that high energy state, not like a hyper state
Yeah.
necessarily, but that
Totally.
passion, that enthusiasm, that focus and flow that you talk about. So maybe it is focus, that F that's missing. Maybe it's fulfillment.
The second one down there is feel and trust your intuition. So you're
Feel and
missing that.
trust your intuition. I
So
love
that's
that.
basically, again, being so logic minded. I had learned actually a year ago, almost to the date as well, that I
Mhm.
was totally not, well, maybe before that to some degree, but totally changed where I was going. That I was totally in my head and not tapping into my heart and my intuition. And when I made a
Mm.
commitment to stretch at a mastermind, when I got off that meeting, my life drastically changed.
Wow.
And that was almost a year ago to the date as well, right now.
Huh.
So, yes, yes, all of these things, it's totally aligned. So yeah, trusting your intuition, not ignoring that, and being able to use that to make decisions. opening up, allowing to make space. That is where the biggest shift occurred for me in the past year. I gave
Hmm.
myself time and space to breathe a little bit more. And then for everybody listening, again, when you open up and create space and allow things to flow to you, they're going to happen exactly when they're supposed to. I just want to reiterate that.
Mm.
That was one of my biggest pivots, even in the past 6 months, as where um, I thought I was doing it before, but I wasn't. I wasn't fully opening up and allowing. I wasn't tapping into my intuition and trusting my gut. I mean, I was, but it's just that's when everything changed.
Amazing. Amazing. Yeah, that sense of freedom too, to even be able to make that choice, right? There's many people who don't
Yes.
feel they have that freedom because they're feeling so
Yes.
constricted and restricted in their lives right now, whether it's because of relationships, where they're living, jobs, other responsibilities, caregiving, anything that might be coming up.
Yeah.
So it sounds like the best place for them to start, what you're saying, is to have that room to breathe, to pause, to stop,
Yeah.
reflect. Is
Yep.
that really what the formula is, Jen, is to in finding that focus and flow?
I think it's a very important part is freeing up space and opening up space, trusting and allowing that everything's going to work out the way that it's supposed to. The more you choose, like my event today that I'm hosting later today, is we're talking about what's your one thing, what's
Hmm.
one thing you're not doing, what's one thing you might need to let go of.
Hmm.
Um, that piece of everything, yes, I'd say is the biggest component. I'll just go through like really brief each letter here. So the focus and flow formula, and then I'll talk a little bit about each one briefly if we still have
Perfect.
time.
We do.
So the first part is F, free yourself. That is freeing yourself of external distractions, negative influences, let go of things you can't control, open up space for that. The past, letting go of what no longer serves you. Open up, allow is the O. Um, consistent, conscious choices is the C. Understanding your barriers is the U. Systems and strategies for everything, personally and professionally. A household works much better, a business run much better with all of those things. Organization. And then flow, feel and trust your intuition is the F. Love and compassion for yourself and others. O is optimize your presence and state of being. How are you showing up? Are you showing up the way you want to? Your state of being instead of constantly doing all the
Mhm.
time. So when we're in a state of being, that's our presence. And water is one of my most favorite things. W is water. And so it is mind like water. And I'll explain that a little bit more. Water has flow, obviously. And I do love water. And my daughter just said yesterday that her favorite thing is water on a school list. She put number one, her favorite thing was water. And I said, why? And she's like, I love drinking water and I love swimming. And I'm like, me too. And I love waterfalls. I think she's a water sign. I actually have to check though. But
Hmm.
nonetheless, there's a whole thing to that part. So if
Mhm.
you want to add anything else, I'll go a little bit more into each one briefly.
Yeah, you can go into each one. Let's hear about that. I just want to say I love
Okay.
acronyms so much, like I use them all the time on the show, and alliteration. And I just want to point out your secure and savvy solutions as well for your
Thank you.
business. Like that's pretty awesome. And that systems, yeah, to help us to stay focused, right? As part of
Yeah.
that flow too, so that we can be in that flow. And I just want to share with everyone too that we're going to have links to connect with Jennifer and all of her bio and what you need to know about her is in the video description as well. But let's get into that focus and flow formula a little bit more.
So yes, for free yourself, I already said, don't allow external distractions, negative influences, people, the weather, the news. Don't let those things affect you as much as possible. Acknowledge and feel the emotions. I realized I was totally detached from my emotions because I was living in survival mode, that I hadn't been connected to myself. So the 5-step process I use in a reactive behavior moment does not include going through your feelings. Okay, it goes through the thought, what is the action that comes from that, how to refocus, reframe, and redirect your thoughts. When I went through this program that I learned and I teach, I didn't know that I wasn't dealing with my emotions because I knew I had to deal with them later. I was in a business program, and you can't let your feelings get in the way. So Acknowledging, you have to, like some people say, name them to replace them and let them go. Acknowledge the fear, scarcity, anger, frustration. It's there for a reason. It's talking to you, and be able to acknowledge it and say, what is happening with this? What's it telling me? And obviously to move past fear, we don't build confidence unless you do scary things. So
Mm.
being able to acknowledge what's going on and then let it go. And again, those feelings are normal, but you have to, I say to everybody, business is business, family is family, but you have to deal with your emotions and your feelings at some point. It's an extremely important component.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I say you have everything you need. Your strength and power already lies within you. I think your one of your mantras I just saw today, like from your business, was embracing your truth, I believe, or embracing your true power within you. So
Mm.
that's totally aligned, I believe, with you and I as well. That something you talked about. It actually really stood out to me when we met as well, was
Mm.
embracing yourself in the true essence of who you are. And part of my program too is going through the 12 powers you hold within you. So that really
Mm.
stood out on your bottom of your email signature line. So I talked about it before, I won't get into it, but 5 or 10 powerful, positive, present tense daily affirmations,
Mm.
mantras, or I am statements. Print them out, have them around your house, have them in place for you on a daily basis and in the moment when you need to reframe those unfavorable thoughts. It can be, I'm the kind of person who does this, eats healthy, works out, and I give my body the energy, attention, nutrition it deserves. This goes into your commitments to yourself too.
Mm.
Um, uh, the commitments to yourself are something we develop as well. I'm worthy and deserving of this. Having these in place, extremely important. So if you come up with at least 5, start there, is what I say. Say them out loud every single day. They'll evolve and shift over time as well. So they don't have to stay the same. Mine have evolved and changed over time, year by year, that I use and kind of grown more to suit me. Open up and allow, let go of all of these P's again, the past, perfectionism, people pleasing, old beliefs and stories, pieces of your identity that are no longer serving you. Create the energy and the environment for fun. We tend to lose fun and love and joy in our life. So figure out ways to bring that back. Play music while you're working. Um, do things where you put fun into this activity that, okay, this is on my calendar. I'm going to pick one event, networking event or the other, depending on how I feel in the moment. Adding fun and joy back into your life. Some of us don't realize that we lose touch of what makes us happy and what brings us joy. So, fully surrender all of those things to be able to flow. Those 5 empowering affirmations I talked about, again, they go into that 5-step process when you're in the moment and you need to reduce reactive behavior. I won't go into the full process. C, consistent, conscious choices. What are your top priorities? This is a big thing. Okay,
Mhm.
I want to teach people and help people be able to make themselves their number one top priority. Eventually, in a business, you maybe only want to work 2, 3, 4 hours a day if that's how you want to build your life. That's the inevitable goal. Well, right now, yes, plenty of self-care, but 70% of my time and energy is focused on business. Myself, my family, my kids, whatever, it's all divvied up. The goal is, if you want to build your life into the life you want, and eventually I only want to work 3 to 4 hours a day so that I am my top priority. Like realistically, that's kind of what I'm going with what the goal is inevitably to be able to do all of these things. Um, your 5 daily non-negotiables, 5 self-sabotaging things on your not-to-do list. I already mentioned those earlier. Understanding your barriers, use daily reflection. Weekly, what are my big wins and my big setbacks? Where do I need help? Look at these things on a weekly basis. I have a 6-week 6-week assessment, like a personal assessment, like where am I at? And look at things quarterly and yearly. Reflect upon what's really going on personally and professionally. Be brutally honest with yourself. What's standing in the way? What would your higher self be saying about what you're doing? What's one thing I can change or let go of and grow, take action on? Whatever area needs it at the time. So that's the other thing. Sometimes you have to shift and flow your focus to what needs more time and energy. Today, my kids need a little more now. When I get more stressed out in general, I know it's time to pour more back into me.
Mm.
I'm focusing too much on other things around me, and that just reminds me, hey, this is a reminder. Pour that energy back into you instead and help you deal with whatever's going on. Strategy and systems in place. It's the decision fatigue, overthinking, having to figure things out. That's stressful. We cause our own stress sometimes. Stress, anxiety, overwhelm. Having these things in place reduces all of that. So have time and structure and create the freedom for productive time, family time, personal time, friend time, free and flow flex time where you don't have anything planned.
Hmm.
In order to get all those things, I have a list of 10 or 20 things that are healthy and safe, and they bring you joy and make you happy. I have them printed out. I forgot what made me happy. And then here and there, I write more things down. I'm like, oh, I forgot about this. I love horses. I love this. I love that. And I add it to my list. So, like, you don't even know anymore what makes you happy sometimes. Hang on one sec. My screen went away. There we
Okay.
go.
Hmm.
Feel and trust your intuition is the last part here. I'll get through these quickly if that's okay.
Oh, sure.
Feel and trust your intuition. Align your head and your heart. Fear and faith cannot hold the same space. I actually forget who's the actual quote, and I think I've looked it up and I don't really know. But either way, it's a very powerful, powerful uh, statement. Fear and faith cannot hold the same space, but you have to have there's always going to be both. There's always going to be the beauty and the pain. So that's part of fully showing up for yourself too, is not hiding any of that, really stepping
Hmm.
into your power by being able to be honest about the beauty and the pain. The both are hand in hand. You can't have one without the other. Stop and take 3 deep breaths in the moment when you need to, when you're checking in with your intuition. Kind of like I said earlier, take 5 deep breaths from your belly 3 times a day if that's where you need to start. Listen to what your body's telling you. And then make decisions based on logic and checking your gut. Don't ignore that. Your gut is always right, 100%. I ignored it for a long time. I learned to never do that again. When something's stressful, I check in and I say, okay, is this truly, and I'll check in on the same thing multiple times, and my gut still tells me, oh, this is right. Never ignore that. That little voice talking to you, that alone could be a massively important thing in your life because people don't even know they're ignoring their intuition. Love and compassion for yourself. As a people pleaser, people have a hard time setting boundaries and expectations for others and themselves. Do what you're doing regardless of the outcome, and then not having expectations as well. I always think it's funny. You want to have boundaries and expectations for yourself, but also to let go of them, to know that you're doing everything that you can and you are exactly where you need to be. It's a funny thing. Um, Optimize your presence and state of being. We only have now. What priorities are you putting your energy and attention to? You cannot give everything 100% all of the time. Take 15 minutes a day just being instead of doing. Many years ago, it was hard for me to take 15 minutes a day. I was told by a therapist, like, how much time are you taking to yourself in a day? Start with 15 minutes. If you're in your business with your family, you might not get that. You might not be giving yourself that. And then the last part, mind like water, comes from a concept I learned in my first business coaching program, which was August of 22. And it's actually a martial arts concept. Mind like water. You react appropriately based on your environment, and then you return back to your resting state. Everything is energy. What you put out comes back in return. What you think is what you get. What you Google is what you get. What you say is hard is hard. If it's an emergency, you make it an emergency. When you throw a small rock in the water, it reacts appropriately and then it returns back to its resting state. A big rock, big splash, but it always returns back to its resting state. I wrote that on the side of my business coaching journal in August of 22, and it has continued to stay with me to the best of my ability. Um, yeah, so basically, that is everything for the focus and flow formula. Currency also has flow. You want to attract more of what you want and need by making the space to allow opportunities, possibilities, and abundance to flow more easily to you. So these are a whole bunch of steps, and it's a lot, I know, but the concepts alone is really what I wanted to put everything together. I know it's a ton of information.
Yeah, and something people can stop and rewind to and
Yes.
listen deeper and, take notes if they
Yes.
want to. And there you have it, the focus and flow formula, which you promised us. And thank you so much for offering that. I also want people to have a way to connect with you, Jen. So, what's the best way for them to be able to do that?
Definitely. I am Jen Carpenter, secure and savvy everywhere, and mostly connect with me on LinkedIn, but I am on all social media platforms. My calendar link will also be in the description. I do finally have a website, so all of the information
Yay.
for my events is there. Events that I have once a month, fourth Tuesday, Mindflow Mastery, which is today. And we just talk about a space for reflecting back on the past month and what's one thing you can take away and do in the next month, like I talked about. I have a networking event on the first and third Thursday, polarizing networking, and I will share this focus and flow formula. Basically, I just have it in a link right now to a Google Doc. I'll have a landing page type of thing eventually, but taking imperfect action. So I'll just put that as well. So yeah, connect with me everywhere. You said before about my secure and savvy solutions. I have a podcast also, The Sweet and Sassy Show. That didn't plan out that way either, but it ended up being the three S's as well. So Molly Lowe and I, a really amazing LinkedIn business queen, we release that episode by the second Friday of every month on the Sweet and Sassy Show podcast on my YouTube channel.
Oh, fantastic. Oh, wow. So lots of ways to be able to connect.
Yeah,
So flow your way down to Jen, and we'll have all of that available in the video description so that it's easy for you. Jen, it's been such a pleasure having you here. I really enjoyed everything you shared. I commend you for the journey you've been on and the dedication to that and the devotion to your mission and truly putting yourself first. So thank you so much for
thank
being
you.
here with us.
I appreciate the space. Thank you. Nice to be here.
Absolutely. And is there anything else, any parting words that you'd like to share before we check out of here?
Ah, so many good things. Um, Basically, really just to the key thing I said earlier, reiterate again, open up and allow to make space for what's to come. You don't know there's
Mm.
greatness on the other side. So no matter what's going on, definitely just know that wherever you are is exactly where you're supposed to be.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much for that.
You're
And
welcome.
what a grounding statement as well, right? Even if we pick that one affirmation, that's
Uh-huh.
going to help.
Yeah.
That's definitely going to help. So thank you all of you that have been tuning in to Awaken and Ascend. I appreciate you. And you can subscribe to this channel for more interviews like this to inspire and empower you along your journey and keep you at the level and frequencies it's going to give you the capacity to navigate life in the best possible way and be a full expression of yourself in that. So thank you so much for joining us. Thank you again, Jen. And we'll see you all again next time on Awaken and Ascend.